Retroality TV presents Reimagine That with Chris Mann, offering refreshing reality with a retro twist. This week, Chris interviews the tomboyish Al from Step by Step, actress Christine Lakin, and once again we'll dive into the realm of the brain's nocturnal imaginings with our very own dreamweaver, Yvonne Reba. And now, introducing your host, Chris Mann.
Thank you once again, Linda Kay, our vintage-voiced announcer and producer. And hi, everybody out there. I hope you are having a great Friday the 13th weekend. It's Saturday the 14th. I think of that crazy spoofy movie in the early 80s. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But hopefully it has not been a superstitious, in a bad way, weekend for everyone. This is episode 14 of Reimagine That, the Retroality.tv podcast where retropop meets forward thought. And we have a fun show for you today. I am tickled to share that we will be interviewing shortly an actress that so many of us grew up with on Step by Step, the 1990s ABC TGIF sitcom starring Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Somers. Christine Lakin was the tomboy daughter who grew up to be quite a ravishing young woman. She played Al on the show. Well, she now has a new reality show made for the web. It's a web series. It's a mockumentary spoof, a bit like Lisa Kudrow's HBO sitcom Gone Too Soon. The comeback, Lovin Lakin, which premieres on July 16th on Hulu. It is also elsewhere online. That is really the spin of a child actor's comeback, and it's very tongue-in-cheek, and it has some great celebrity cameos in it, including Patrick Duffy. I'll save the details for when we chat with Christine here briefly, but she has really reinvented herself with this, and I hope that it leads to more TV work for her. We've seen her in features. We've seen her recently in a spoof video. I believe it was for Funny or Die. Child celebrities opposing Kirk Cameron, specifically opposing his religious views against gay marriage, which he espoused earlier this year on the Piers Morgan show. But Christine is really branching out, and she's got a great spirit, and I love that she has taken her career by its reins and is changing with changing times with new media. So we'll hear all of her fun memories of Step by Step and her other memories as a child actor, as well as her new project in this spoof on that whole concept of the child actor returning. For actors and other celebrities leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back, it's really all part of the circle of life for a showbiz career. I remember Suzanne Somers used to say that, you know what, a showbiz career is cyclical. It goes up, it goes down, kind of like that roller coaster in the opening sequence of Step by Step. But the ones that are really smart hang on tight, and they're there for the climb back up and the fun ride back down if they can make those twists and turns. But the circle of life, you know, that whole idea has really, in the celebrity world, been sadly apparent. This year, we have lost so many celebrities, some way too soon. Most recently, Sylvester Stallone's son, Sage, was found dead in his apartment. He was only 36, and, you know, it's so sad, and it's the latest in a long line of famous people who we have lost this year. I'll touch on that here in a minute, but really I thought 2009 was the year of the celebrity death. If you guys recall, there were so many we lost then. Of course, Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett on the same day, but also B. Arthur, Dom DeLuise, Carl Malden, Patrick Swayze, Ed McMahon, a couple of legendary newsmen, Walter Cronkite and Don Hewitt, the producer of 60 Minutes, Natasha Richardson. The list goes on and on. Dominique Dunn, a number of musicians from the 60s. Well, this year we have lost creative minds from all realms of showbiz and beyond. Of course, earlier this year, it was like the year that music died. Robin Gibb, Donna Summer, Whitney Houston, of course, the legendary Etta James, Davy Jones, and Robert Sherman. Our announcer-producer Linda Kay shared some of her fond memories of Davy and Robert in an earlier episode of Reimagine That. So we've lost all of these musical wonders this year, and Dick Clark, with his American Bandstand, he really revolutionized bringing music to television in the mid-century and beyond. And then Dick Clark went on to be a game show icon as host of the $25,000 Pyramid and $100,000 Pyramid. And then we lost Richard Dawson this spring too. Family Feud fame, The Match Game. Richard was really one of a kind, the kissing bandit on Family Feud, but he really brought people from all walks of life, all races, all ages, to America's living rooms in the 70s and early 80s as host of Family Feud. He was embracing of all cultures, of all types of people. He kissed women of all shapes and sizes, and he was really quite a character, that guy. We spoke of newsmen we lost in 2009. Well, this year, of course, we lost Mike Wallace, the legendary, iconic 60 Minutes host and really founder, as well as Andy Rooney, who gave his comical interpretations, his takes on life at the end of that show for decades. We lost Vidal Sassoon and Nolan Miller this year. Recently, we lost prolific screenwriter and director Nora Ephron, who, of course, was responsible for all of those Meg Ryan comedies, Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, and Richard Zanuck, who was the Oscar-winning producer of Driving Miss Daisy and Jaws, and so many more. And recently we lost some sitcom icons from before and beyond the 60s. Doris Singleton, who was famous for her role as the neighbor on I Love Lucy. She later went on to have a recurring role in My Three Sons. And as you all know, we lost Don Grady, one of the sons from My Three Sons, gone too soon. And in May, we lost George Lindsay, who played Goober on The Andy Griffith Show. And finally, we lost on July 3rd, Andy Griffith himself. What an icon that man was. Ron Howard has spoken out about what a loss personally and creatively Andy Griffith was for the world and for Ron Howard, and what an influence he was on him at a young age as a creative person, a person that knew how to put together a production, and Ron would later take that and become, of course, this amazing filmmaker. I never met Andy Griffith, but I certainly met his best friend Don Knotts a few times, and Don was always very soft-spoken, but he always managed to mention, it seemed, in every interview he did and every exchange that we had about Three's Company, how important not only his friendship with Andy Griffith was, and I'll talk about that more here in a second, but how that professional relationship impacted his life. He met Andy Griffith on stage in No Time for Sergeants, and then Don had a role in the film version of No Time for Sergeants in 1958. That was Don's film debut. And a couple years later, they would make television history and really become fixtures in Americana and the pop culture consciousness as Andy Taylor and Barney Fife, the Mayberry duo to end all TV duos. But they became very close friends, and they were close till the end. Very few knew that Don Knotts was ill and, in fact, dying in the hospital. In winter 2006, Don died on February 24th of that year. Very few knew that Don was ill with lung cancer. Andy Griffith did, and Andy was at his bedside in Don's final days and hours. And that is a testament to what a real friend is. In Hollywood, you don't hear of friendships lasting that long, certainly not beyond a series. People come and people go, paths cross, people may be fond of each other and reunite for projects or see each other at a premiere or whatever, but Don and Andy were like peanut butter and jelly till the end. And so I know that when Andy passed, Don was there waiting for him. I believe that with all of my heart, that he was there, and they walked up that pebble path to TV heaven while the angels whistled a certain familiar tune. So rest in peace, Andy, and rest in peace, all of you great creative leaders and inspirers who shaped our childhood and also continued to impress us into adulthood. We will miss you all. And now, on a lighter and happier note, let us join Kristin Lakin, who grew up with us in Step by Step. She and her TV father, by the way, Patrick Duffy, who, as we all know, has reprised his role as Bobby Ewing in this smash TNT revival of Dallas. They are still very close, and she has a heartwarming story about Patrick that, really reminds me somewhat of Andy and Don's relationship. I think that Patrick is going to be there for Kristin for the rest of his life, and I am really impressed with that tale. So check out his cameo in Lovin Lakin. It's on Hulu, it's on YouTube. Kristin was featured on EW.com. We are so thrilled to have her. Step by Step lasted 7 seasons. Started on ABC. It went on for a final season on CBS. And she emerged from the experience from the sometimes wicked journey of child celebritydom. She emerged intact and just fine, thank you very much. She did not go the route of the Different Strokes kids or of any of the other troubled child actors, thank God. And she's emerged with her sense of humor intact too. And she's ready to spoof that whole concept of the child actor comeback. So let's join Kristin and see what little pearls of wisdom she can share with us. Hi, Kristin. This is Chris. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for interviewing for our podcast, Reimagine That. We're really thrilled to have you here.
Of course.
Oh, you bet. My good friend Pavan from Sitcoms Online has championed your new show and so many of your projects. I want to ask you about some of them, but I have to say, we grew up with you when you were on Step by Step. I am a bit older than you. I was in college during part of that time, but America knows you, and now you're back in Lovin Lakin. What inspired this sort of reality spoof, how to make it in Hollywood mockumentary, and what's the journey been like to bring it to computer screens?
Well, I guess what sort of inspired it is, in some ways, what I think inspires a lot of people to make something on their own. And it's there's several factors that go into it. I think, number one, I wanted to do something that I just thought was funny. And my friend Dave Mahanes, who created it with me, he has a documentary film company, and they do really serious documentaries about, homelessness and, disease in Africa and very kind of hard-hitting stuff, which, is wonderful and necessary and I think also can be a bit heavy. Right. But he's got all this great equipment. He said, Lakin, we've known each other a long time, and we were having a birthday party for his wife, and he said, I would love to just do something fun sometimes, just something for you and me, just stick around an idea. And I'd sort of been thinking about something that I could do. That I was writing a lot more at the time, and this was sort of an idea I had, festering, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. So I sort of pitched it to him. So, I always say, I think sometimes it's when preparation and opportunity meet that you can do something that you never thought possible.
Very good.
And he kind of had the opportunity, and I sort of had this idea, and he said, I think that's really funny. Let's see what we can get out of it. And
nice.
So, some of it was just looking around and saying, all right, what do we have? Well, I know I can write something based on something I know, and I know my experience growing up as, a child actor.
Yeah.
But what I thought would be funny is if I completely spoofed myself. I took myself as I created a character version of myself. And I was able to kind of spin the whole idea of being a child actor who has left the business, who's now trying to make a comeback, which is really difficult, if not next to impossible to do anyway in this business.
Right.
And, to kind of also make this other version of Kristin someone who is just completely oblivious to her surroundings. And I think that's kind of what makes, a character like Michael Scott so lovable on The Office.
Right.
He's pretty much a daft idiot, but we love him because it doesn't come from a bad place. He's just so unaware.
Right.
And I love that kind of humor. I find that really funny, and and it can be very awkward and and uncomfortable, and I really thrive on that kind of humor. It's the kind of humor I have with my friends a lot. So I decided to make something, A, that I knew, and B, with a sense of humor that was very much my style. So,
I love it.
You know, in this business, I do so many different things, and I've been blessed to, work on a lot of different stuff. But it's not always my voice coming out. It's the writers.
Right.
This was a really fun opportunity for me to do something that I had complete creative control over.
That is very appealing, yeah.
Yeah, and we did it not really knowing what it was going to be. I mean, other than, hey, let's make something that, we think is funny, we can show our friends. Maybe we'll stick it up on YouTube or something,
Right.
And then we started to make it, and, we were asking, I thought, like the first celebrity I asked was Jamie Lee Curtis. I was doing a movie with her at the time called You Again. And I thought, you know what, I have an idea for her, and I'm just going to ask her. The worst she can say is no.
Right.
No thanks, that's not my cup of tea, right? And you never know unless you ask. So I asked her, and she said, yeah, it sounds like fun. What do you want me to do?
I love
it. And we did this whole improv, and it turned into a really funny, 7-minute episode. Unfortunately, it's not included because it's pretty blue, and probably a little too racy for her, her branding. But she is so funny.
Any Activia jokes in there?
No Activia jokes, but I would love to work with her again. And unfortunately, this particular episode just was a little too blue, I think, for, what she's doing now and some of the other projects she's involved in. But that was kind of the catalyst. And lucky for me, I was working on You Again, and Kristin Bell and I have known each other for a long time. And she was nice enough to come out. I think we did her episode on a Saturday down at my friend's house. And Seth MacFarlane, who I work with on Family Guy, again, same thing, came in on a Saturday to the offices. I mean, people just... Kristin Chenoweth was like, sure, come over to the house and we'll do something. And
love her.
Yeah, people really it was such a labor of love. And I think that is a testament, in a way, of a lot of times how these things work. You ask a friend who asks a friend, and you get another friend to come and, help with some craft service, and another friend to come and hold a boom. And kind of how I did it. So it was a really collaborative experience.
And collaborative, it must have been liberating having grown up in the traditional Hollywood studio network system with TV and film. So this character is clearly a departure from who you are in real life. But was there an aspect of this character that is a little bit like you that was sort of liberating to explore, or reminded you of someone that you kind of wanted to spoof a bit?
There wouldn't be anyone specifically, but, I do think that there's something sort of funny about, I think because I've been in this business so long, and I've ridden many different waves of my career, and, I think Neil Patrick Harris probably said it best in an article where you never know when the next wave is coming.
Right.
So it's much more, in many ways, about longevity in this career than it is about the peaks and valleys, right?
That's right.
But I think there's a lot of people, especially people who've had success either very young or success that's come very quickly, that don't understand that. So they go buy a big fancy car or a big crazy house and just assume that they're always going to work.
Right.
Especially with child actors, that's where I think a lot of the pitfalls can come, is because you have this overinflated ego that just can't be told, that it can't bring it back to reality. So, there's a little bit of that in there, definitely. And again, that's kind of where the complete and utter total lack of self-awareness, I think, in that character comes from. But, I tried not to make it too dark. This was all about, taking the humorous slant on it.
Sure.
And there's nothing in it that is too real. Although, there's an episode where I go to get an agent, and any self-respecting actor would know that what my character goes through, she goes into basically a closet where a guy is sitting who clearly has no idea what he's doing, and she's just thrilled that he wants to take her on, because all he does is tell her she's a superstar, and that's all she needs to hear. So there's no real, intelligence happening. There's just feed me compliments and I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, we didn't hear any stories about any of you step-by-step kids, robbing a video store or anything. What accounts for you guys not going the different strokes route, but really you all did quite well and you stayed clean and all that good stuff. Was there an influence on the set because your producers were so experienced, and then you had Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Somers, who are veterans, and talk about someone that has reinvented herself, Suzanne, and come back. Were those types of lessons sort of instilled in that experience for you on Step by Step?
Definitely. I mean, I definitely think, and my mom has always said this too, she's like, you were really, really lucky with the experience that you had. And I know that other child actors maybe didn't have the experience that I had. Not only did we have a really great group of people, like all the kids were, we became very much like a big family. But I think any job, and I've learned this, because I've had many different kinds of jobs, I think any job, any experience starts at the top down.
Right.
So, whether that's the producers and the director, the creators, and the stars. I mean, because television moves very fast. And it's very much like a theater in that way. And I think that's why I always really gravitated towards sitcom, why I always liked it a lot. Yeah. It reminded me of theater. But it's like doing a little mini play once a week. And all the parts have to work together. And everybody, we had such a warm set. We had a set of people that genuinely loved each other.
Wow.
And, I mean, there's a potluck reunion next month, and for whoever is still in touch.
Wow.
And, I mean, we're talking 15 years later,
And who might we see there that is still in touch, at least from the cast that we would know?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely still in touch with Patrick. He's been filming Dallas, obviously, so he, goes back and forth between his home in Oregon and filming that in Texas. And so if he's here, obviously, and, our script supervisor, Patty, and our lighting gaffer, Tony, and my studio teacher, Susie. I mean, it goes down the line. I mean, we're talking from first ADs to costume designers to writers, to producers.
The whole family.
These people are all still kind of in touch. So, I definitely think that had a lot to do with it. But I also have to say, especially on a show where there were 6 kids, things could have gotten very competitive and very weird, and, kids could have definitely fought with each other and had egos and all of that. And I think also because Patrick and Suzanne, they always, the two of them, I just can't say enough about the grace with which they handled their celebrity.
Wow.
And I think it was very much a lesson to all of us. And
that's great.
They're big stars. And could not, Patrick just really, one of the most grounded people I've ever met. And so nice and funny and warm.
He does come off that way. He seems almost avuncular, or like a second father to you, in a sense.
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, a little story tidbit about Patrick. This just kind of is an example of the kind of guy he is. When I graduated high school, he gave me a card, and in it was taped a $50 bill. And he said, upon graduating college, you'll get the other half. Which is not only funny, but it's, whatever, is like, oh, gee, thanks. But it's, it's definitely a lesson in, money doesn't mean everything, but hard work does.
Right.
And, and true to form, I graduated college, and he had the other half of that dollar bill, same serial number and everything.
Oh, wow. I love it.
And so I have it framed in my house.
That's inspirational.
Yeah. And he's just he's a great guy. And he directed, I would say, a third of our episodes, which is another thing a lot of people don't know.
How cool is that? I was going to ask you, I know he does a cameo, an appearance at least. Are we going to see him show up in your shower? I mean, that's a whole other Patrick Duffy.
You're not the first person that's asked that.
That would be really blue, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing, actually. Well, we filmed his, it's unfortunately no shower, but that would have been brilliant had we been able to do that. He was actually filming a little cameo in You Again as well, and I already knew I wanted him to come and do something in the web series, and he had said, yes, absolutely, I'll let you know when I'm down, blah, 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 and then it just worked out that he was filming for 3 days, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. We can just do it here on the set. And so I already had this episode written, and kind of gave it to him. I said, listen, say as much of this as you want, or we'll just improv it. We can say anything you want, basically. And that's kind of what I said to everybody, and I think that's sometimes where we got the best stuff.
A little Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque.
Very much so, yeah.
How fun is that? That must really encourage creativity all the way around for
I
actors.
think so. I mean, I like personally to work like that. I've done a couple of films that are improv based, and I come kind of from that world. So, to me, that feels like, okay, I know where the beginning, middle, and end of this scene are, and in between, find a way to get there. And I think some of the most genuinely funny moments come out of the improv. So I love to work like that, and I think it gave great freedom to a lot of the other actors, too.
I can't wait to see it. It premieres on the 16th on Hulu and YouTube, right?
That's right, yeah. Hulu.com/Lovin Lakin, or you can go to YouTube to the Oops Donuts TV page.
Oh, I love that.
Oops Donuts is the production company.
Now, you had mentioned some of your celebrity friends who will be guest stars. Stacey Keenan is on that list. Why no Suzanne Somers yet? I mean, if anyone can give advice on surviving Hollywood, right?
Exactly. I would absolutely, if we get to do a second season, I would love to have her on. I will go wherever she is and to have her on the series. This, again, it was because I wrote a bunch of stuff. My friend and I started filming. We nabbed people as we could. And before we knew it, we had 10 episodes.
There you go.
And then it was all about, okay, let's get this thing and start editing it, which was really the biggest challenge, I think, in the whole thing. 'Cause so much good stuff, but we tried to make it. We knew it was going to be a web series. We tried to whittle the episodes down to 5 and 6 minutes.
That's a challenge, yeah.
Very much, especially with improv, because you want to take all the best pieces,
Absolutely.
So anyway, it was more of that than anything, but absolutely, I would love to have her on the second season, and I think people would love to see her. And we have some additional footage that we're going to put on our Facebook page and stuff. It's very much we did some footage out at the Academy right before we started filming the episodes, and I did a salute to dads, and Patrick Duffy was being honored, and Suzanne came to honor him as well.
Uh-huh.
So the three of us were actually there. It was really fun to see her. That was actually the last time I saw her. But my camera crew was there just filming some random B-roll of me as like my Lovin Lakin character. I think we have some B-roll with her, which will be a nice, fun blooper sort of Easter egg to put on the Facebook page. So in addition to the 10 episodes on Monday, you can always check out, the page for additional footage.
And at the top of the show, too, we'll give these web addresses out and in our links so that people can easily get to all of the good stuff in your new show.
Awesome.
I want to ask you here a bit about the whole child actor thing. Recently, you participated in something that was very, very funny, Child Celebrities Opposing Kirk Cameron.
Yes.
Which had a certain funny acronym.
Yes, exactly.
Tell us about COCK.
COCK.
And have you had any left behind videos left on your front porch since then?
No, but my friends Dave Fickus and Bryce Beckham, who I've known for a while, we've done a lot of different sketch shows together, and I've been in some of their videos and stuff. They came to me and said, "Hey, we have this script written, we have this idea, and it's kind of this politically charged commentary, satirical commentary on what's going on, and we just think it's funny, and is it something you'd like to come and participate in?" And I thought it was hilarious, and it's also it's also an issue that I very much support, and I thought it was just a really fun way and funny way to kind of, make a statement without beating it over the head, if that makes sense.
Where you could come out in support of gay marriage, right? Which he had gone on Piers Morgan, I believe, and gave his religious views about that. So this was sort of other child celebrities from the 80s and 90s saying, we don't agree with him.
We don't agree with you, and you're giving us a bad rap here, man. And the thing is, and this is where I always came from with it, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, absolutely. That's why we live in this country. And you have freedom of religion and freedom of speech. But what you have to understand is if you're a celebrity and you're put in a position of power, I think in terms of communication, of mass communication, I think you have to be really careful that your own political or religious beliefs don't infringe on other people's basic human rights.
Very well said.
Yeah, then I think we have, an issue with young kids could look up to him. And if you're a young gay man or a young gay woman and you're being led to believe that the way you are, the way you feel, the way you were born is wrong and detrimental to society, what are we telling this whole group of young people?
Absolutely.
That they're not worthy? That they shouldn't be alive? that is the wrong message, in my opinion. And that's a dangerous message. And that's why I did this video. Not because I want Kirk to change his beliefs. I don't agree with him, and we're allowed to disagree.
Absolutely.
We can agree to disagree for the rest of our lives.
And let him believe what he wants to believe, but remember the responsibility that his voice carries, right?
Absolutely. And that's why I was compelled to be involved. And, look, it's funny, it's silly, it's off the cuff, obviously. And I think sometimes that's the best way to make a point.
Yes.
Comedy. Especially with hot button issues. I mean, it's what Saturday Night Live does all the time. And it's funny because, look, I'm from the South. My parents are very conservative. They're very open-minded people, but, very conservative. And I was like, oh, man, they're going to love me being in a video where we say cock 1,400 times.
Back in Georgia, right?
Oh, yes. But, they saw it, and my mother kind of was like, oh, dear Lord. And my father laughed, and he said, I get it. It's satire, and, and good for you for standing up for yourself. And so to each their own, I suppose. But I was thrilled to be involved with it, and I thought it turned out really well. And people seemed to enjoy it. It got passed around quite a lot.
It was funny, and it was kind of cool to see some faces from the past poke fun at the whole child celebrity concept. But you have not really been out of the spotlight. You've done a number of features. You've done a number of guest shots on TV. You've worked a lot with Gary Marshall. I have to ask you, it's kind of interesting, aside from working with 70s and 80s icons, Patrick and Suzanne, and the whole sort of Brady Bunch comparisons that Step by Step got, and I'd be curious what you thought of those, you keep coming back in these musicals to these shows from the 70s. Happy Days, you played Joni.
Yeah.
The Chips musical, you were born in 79. Do you ever
I
feel like maybe you were quickly reincarnated from someone who died a couch potato in 78? You have this connection.
That's hilarious. No one's ever said that to me before. But you know what? You might be right. I mean, but you know what? I was such a child of, reruns. I mean, I grew up watching, Nick at Night and so many, old TV shows. I mean, there's TV shows I know that I shouldn't know. Golden Girls. I was a huge fan of Golden Girls and, the Carol Burnett Show and All in the Family and obviously Happy Days. I watched everything in reruns. Joni Loves Chachi.
Three's Company.
Chips. All that stuff. So, to a degree, I very much understand that, time in pop culture.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. The whole Happy Days experience was such a blast. And
really?
Really, I don't know, to do a 50s musical, but also to portray these characters that people loved. They came into their homes.
Iconic.
And to do it all with Gary Marshall, I mean, the man behind all of it was an amazing experience. I'll never forget that.
I bet. And you've done features with him, and you have endeared yourself to the industry and the people, not only within the industry, but people who grew up watching you as, this tomboy that blossomed into this beautiful young woman, and yet you have continued to sort of reinvent yourself with this new media. What do these sort of concepts of reimagining and reinventing yourself mean? Because you've not gone away, you've just adapted and tried all of these different forms and platforms. What does that mean to you as you get into your 30s now as an actor?
I think for me, it's always been about, like I said, I think you've got to ride the waves of your career. And there have been times when the opportunities have been better, and there have been times when the opportunities have been not as good. And that's just sometimes the way it is.
Sure.
So, you kind of take each job and, move forward from there. And like I said, some jobs are more glamorous than others. But I will say this. I think specifically in this industry, it's increasingly harder to make a living. And that's just the case, I think, in a lot of industries, and I think that's the case with the economy. But, what we do now is so diversified. I mean, studios are making less films. Movie stars are doing more television. People are on the internet more. Just our time and our money and the way we're watching content, I think, is just increasingly becoming so varied. So
it is.
I've always been the type of actor to... I just can't sit around and wait for the phone to ring. I would go crazy. So I've always been the type that's tried to create my own opportunities. And whether I'm doing theater for no money, and the middle of Hollywood doing something that I love that is fulfilling a passion inside, or whether I'm on set of like a big budget movie, it's kind of one and the same to me.
Yes.
We all have to pay a bill at the end of the day, but the type of work that I do doesn't really matter, if that makes sense. I've always just tried to find opportunities and ways of keeping myself creatively fulfilled. And I think that's kind of, Lovin Lakin was definitely a testament to that. That was something I wanted to do for me. And from this, hopefully I get to do more of it.
That would be great.
You never know where your path is going to lead. And there's a lot of people in this town that would say, God, why do you spend so much time doing theater?
Right.
Like, it's not a theater town. Well, from doing theater and doing like children's shows at the Falcon Theater, I've developed a great relationship with Gary Marshall. And I've been able to afforded a lot of different opportunities because of that. And I'm really grateful for it. And, I do shows with the Troubadour Theater Company there, and probably done 9, 10, 11 shows with them. And that's been one of probably the most fulfilling parts of my career. And that's a part that a lot of people don't see.
Right.
But that's something that's a safe place I'm able to go and just totally play and make up a character and kind of do whatever I want within the constructs of our crazy theater family.
How fun.
So I think that's an important lesson to learn. I do a lot of voiceover now. I've been choreographing for TV shows.
Yeah.
I see it all as one and the same. And I think a lot of people see their career in one line.
Right.
If I want to do this, and then I want to be on a TV show, and then I want to be a movie star. Well, good luck with that. I hope it works out for you.
If you're one of 3 people. Yeah.
Because I just don't know. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work like that. I just think that there's too many fun things. I don't know. I'm interested in so many different things. I'm interested in writing. I'm interested in choreographing. I'm interested in directing. So why not do it all? It's
why
not fun that way.
And
I don't know.
You have a go-getter spirit, too, and I like that you help create your opportunities. You put it out there. You attract the right things. And that is longevity there. I mean, you also grew up on a show where you did have that inspiration, I think, from Patrick, who's now back as Bobby Ewing. Who knew?
I know.
And Suzanne recently did a YouTube show where she reunited with Joyce DeWitt. Do you think that maybe one day there might be like step by step the next generation? This time it's personal, something? Maybe.
I mean, people have been asking about our reunion for years, which is so cool because, it just means that people loved the show and missed it. And, I don't know if that will happen or not, but a lot of the younger kids, that was sort of the last thing they did. And they got out of the business and they lead very normal lives now, and more power to them, quite frankly.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, there's definitely, I think, something to be said for that feeling of nostalgia that a lot of people still carry for those TGIF shows in general. Whether it's Step by Step or Full House or Boy Meets World. I can't tell you, it makes me so... it makes me so happy when people say things like, man, I grew up with Step by Step. I just loved that show. And, it reminds me of my childhood. And, I get it because I was that age too.
Yeah,
so before I was on the show, I watched all those shows. And I remember very vividly Friday nights of having a sleepover. What do girls want to do? Eat pizza, watch TGIF. I mean, there was very much a sense of family. And we don't have that anymore on television. There's really not a night that's dedicated towards family entertainment.
We don't.
And I think that's kind of sad, a little bit.
I think that needs to make a comeback, and maybe you can lead that one of these days. Would you ever do a Brady Bunch musical? I know the Brady Bunch was often sort of compared to Step by Step or vice versa. Would that be kind of trippy for you to play Jan Brady or something?
Oh my gosh, it would be hilarious. I would love it. They did something here. I think it was called the rerun. I can't remember, but somebody I know played. I think it was a man that played Jan, and that just made me laugh so hard. Yeah, of course. I grew up. Obviously, I watched the Brady Bunch too, so I love those. I love when they did the movies. I thought those were so funny. So, yeah, I mean, I think that would be hilarious. I can't believe no one's ever done a Brady Bunch musical, frankly.
Yeah, I believe they did Gilligan's Island. I know they did a little spoofy improv, sort of unauthorized Brady live thing. So who knows what's in the cards for you on stage and screen. Do you have anything else coming up soon that you want to let the audience know about, or anything else in closing, Kristin?
Yeah. Well, speaking of musicals, you might find this funny. At the end of the summer, starting August 30th, I will be playing Clarice in the West Coast premiere of Silence the Musical, based on Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
Yes. Talk about a musical. It's a very funny, dark comedy, obviously spoofing Silence of the Lambs. It's been in New York for the past several years and has really generated quite a cult following there. And I saw it last fall when I was doing a musical in New York, and I just thought it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. I mean, it is really avant-garde and really out there, and I thought, man, if this ever comes to LA, I've got to get an audition for it, because it's such a great role.
Reimagining Silence of the Lamb as a dark comedy. I've got to see that.
Oh, it's hilarious. So it'll be at the Hayworth Theater starting August 30th, and will run until the beginning of December.
Perfect.
And so far. So, yeah, so I'm thrilled about that. And then I have a movie coming out in December called Parental Guidance. I have a little part in. It's with Billy Crystal and Bette Midler.
Cool.
And I choreographed a couple of the scenes, and then I also play a dance instructor in it.
Very cool. Well, you are branching out, and we expect to see a lot of good and fun and innovative things from you in the months and years ahead. So please come back on our show later on, and we'll talk about Season 2 of Lovin Lakin, I'm sure.
I would love that. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, too. Thank you so much, Kristin, and best of luck with your new show.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, Kristin Lakin is clearly a go-getter who has gone after her dream with Lovin Lakin. Looks like she has one of her dream jobs. Hopefully we'll see that go on for many years for her. But for many of us, we have been stuck at one point or another in life in a nightmare job or just a situation that we feel very stuck in under the thumb of a boss that we don't like. God knows I've been there. Our resident dream interpreter, Yvonne Reba, she is going to share with us a dream of one of her clients that involves pregnancy, and what does that mean? Was it a dream about procreation in the traditional sense, which means to bring another person into the world to create offspring, or was it a dream about procreation in the sense of creating or bringing something into being? I like to look at it as perhaps proactive recreation, taking a proactive role in recreating your life. It's all very interesting, and Yvonne will analyze that here for us in a moment. This will be the first of two parts of this particular client's dreams that end up being a storyline with different imagery, different symbolism, but all trying to tell this client essentially the same message. Check out Yvonne's website, YvonneReba.com, YvonneRyba.com. She is a wealth of spiritual insight and information about the dream world and your waking world. So check out the reviews section of her site, which are testimonials of her clients and people who have been touched by Yvonne's spiritual gifts. Known Yvonne forever. She's great. And let us know what you think of Yvonne's segment. And if you have a dream you'd like Yvonne to analyze, please send it to us at retroality@comcast.net, and we will explore it on a future show. So with that said, let us check in with Yvonne. And hi there again, Yvonne. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Chris.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the last couple of shows, we've heard your dreams of coming to America and sort of reinventing yourself spiritually in the 80s and beyond. And I was wondering, do you have any dreams from any of your clients that sort of fall into this theme of reimagining your life and making a big change? Anything like that?
Yes, I do. Yes. Well, I talk to lots of different people, and often they do have dreams that are trying to signal them onto a different pathway, or if they have a big problem, how to get through that problem and move into a new life, that kind of thing.
Great.
And I had two dreams, and I'm going to give you one today and one the next time from one client, okay, one person.
Great.
Who's also a friend and someone I know fairly well, okay?
Perfect.
And this is a dream where she was pregnant. Now, she's never been pregnant, so this is a big shock to her to dream about it. Let me read you the dream.
Great.
And then I'll go back and give you what I thought about it. So, she dreamt that she was pregnant with a child fathered by a man that she knew personally and didn't trust or like. Now, actually, this is a real person she's talking about here. She did work with somebody that she didn't like very much at all. Mm-hmm. Now, this man was someone that she'd worked with. He was smart, intelligent, good with money and with people, but who lacked, in my opinion, ethics, loyalty, and honesty. At work, friends thought we should date because there was a constant verbal sparring between us. Now, that actually happened. I remember her telling me about how he aggravated the heck out of her because he was always picking and pushing, that kind of, like you said, verbal sparring.
It sounds a little bit like moonlighting.
Yes, it does a bit, yes. Yes, but in the dream, she said, fortunately, there was no feeling of us having had sex, just that he was the baby's father. I had no intention of telling him about being pregnant or letting him know that I was having the baby. As far as I was concerned, he was out of my life and was to stay that way. Now, since she'd stopped having periods years ago, she said it was a great shock to be pregnant. Mm-hmm. In the dream, it was so vivid, it felt like real time. She said, I was even able to think throughout the dream. I mean, she kept thinking, this is unreal, I can't be pregnant. She was so convinced she was.
Yeah.
And then the thought came into her mind about having an abortion. Then she didn't have the time or the money to raise this baby, and that she wanted to finish her studies towards her master's degree and then go on to a PhD. This was going to really be difficult.
Right.
But then she decided an abortion was absolutely out of the question. It wasn't an option. And she said, I had no feelings of animosity towards the baby. If anything, I was kind of protective to it. Mm-hmm. So, instead of having an abortion, she looked for a couple that I knew who would raise the baby as their own. Yet let me visit as a kind of family friend and auntie, so I could watch the baby grow and be a part of its life while not being responsible for it. And there was a young couple I apparently knew who had a lovely ranch-style type home on some acreage. They were very nice people and had a loving, harmonious relationship. I saw them as providing a really nurturing home for my baby. And that was the end of the dream.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, right. So she had that dream, and I had a look at it. Now, seeing as how I know this person pretty well, I was able to sort of pinpoint some areas of this dream, as I'll explain as I go through this, as of having happened or about to happen. Because she is in the middle of a really difficult time in her life, where she recently had a major operation, which required quite a lot of time off work, and she's got 6 weeks now before she has to go back to work. The job that she has is not a job she wants. She had to take it when her company was downsized some years ago, and over the last year or so, she's really gotten to a place where it is not doing for her what she wants. It doesn't give her enough money. It's not creative. It's a long way from where she lives. In fact, has everything was really against it. So she has this job, as I was saying, where everything is absolutely the opposite of what she wants.
Been there.
It's very tiring. Yes, there's a long trek. She has to drive a long way to get there and comes back through the rush hour and so on and so on. So it's a very independent woman and very intelligent woman. And this job is really, just not doing it for her. She needs something with a lot more going for it. Mm-hmm. And this dream is all about what is she going to do. She's looking for a different job, going to, applying for different jobs now. But this dream comes up with this baby. Now, babies are, as we've said, new lives, okay? Now, she's not ready to have this baby yet. She just found out she was pregnant, so obviously the dream is saying there's something within you that needs to be nurtured and looked after. And then, when it's born, you will be able to have the fun and the pleasure of it. And this is a new life, a job, a new way of living, not just necessarily a job. You'll be able to have the pleasure of it, but you'll need some help. You can't do this all on your own, as she recognized in the dream. In the dream, she recognized if she's going to continue with her studies, at the same time as keep a job to make some money and do other stuff, it's too much. She can't do it all. And she can't give each thing what it needs. So she's going to be another year at least on her master's degree. So she is, waiting for that. Now, the couple at the end of the dream are a young couple who live in a ranch-style home on some acreage. And I know that the people that she knows, and we have a lot of mutual friends, I think that this refers to me. Okay, now she tells me a lot of her dreams, and she and I are close. Because we live in a ranch-style home on acreage, out in the country. We're not young, but we do have, we're on the go a lot. Let's put it
Young
that
at heart.
Young at heart, Chris, that's it. You got it right. Now, she saw them as providing a really nurturing home for my baby. Now, the weirdest part about this is that I was having a conversation with her, and she sent me this dream, and I had not analyzed it. I had been swamped with July the 4th stuff and all that kind of thing that we were doing in our town. I was helping organize it. And I just couldn't get to anything. And then I got to this, but in the meantime, we'd had this conversation where she had been talking about what she'd like to do, and she suggested that she and I do something together. And I talked about it, and we came up with ideas of how we would do this project. And then I started to look at her dream later, and I saw this, and I thought, well, we've already started on this. I couldn't believe it. I thought, she didn't know that I was going to analyze this in this way. She hadn't a clue what this was about. And I thought, wow, we've already started to look at the idea of having this baby and nurturing it and looking after it and so on, and her being, she's part of our family. She is. She's not related to us in any other way, but spiritually she's a great part of our family. So I thought this was amazing that we'd already started the conversation about adopting this baby. There you go. Isn't that amazing? Now, this is really great. It's great because it means her subconscious says, you have got it within you to create what you want. You will need help, but that's what we're all here for. You know, I've talked to you about this. We've talked about it before. We're not here to be isolated. We're here to help each other.
Right.
And people have helped me. I like to help people. It's the way it works. Right?
Absolutely. And so here your client had a dream that was already a reality in motion in both of your lives. So that must have been interesting.
Well, as I'm going through the dream, I'm thinking, oh, this is already going on. We've already got this started. I can't believe it.
Wow.
It was so amazing. It was really a good dream, as a matter of fact.
So she was pregnant with thought, with ideas that would ultimately lead to a rebirth in her, essentially.
That's right. Now, the part at the very beginning where she didn't like the father, all right, when he didn't work there anymore, this guy, as she said, he was bright, intelligent, he knew he was good with money, but he didn't have the ethics she thought he should have in business, and didn't think he was very honest, and so on. I said to her, it seems to me that this man, who is real, appears in this dream because there is something there that he has given you an idea about. He's talked to you at some point, or he is symbolic of this project that you want to do. You've chatted about it, or he has suggested to you doing something, and at one point, he and I think there was another man who had said, why don't you come into business with me and we'll do this together, but she didn't think this man she didn't trust him. That was basically it. She didn't think that you would get a fair deal. And she was right. Later on, that proved true. But she had ideas from him. She didn't want him in her life, but the germ of the idea, that's the seed, okay, the baby beginning, had probably come from something in their conversations, because this verbal sparring had probably stirred something within her mind that set her thinking.
Yeah, so now she's got to go back and think about what they sparred about.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Right, but at the same time, when we've had our conversations, and since we have very similar ideas about things on certain subjects, it's very easy for us to connect on that level. So the project she was thinking about definitely is a very good idea in that we could do it together, but we wouldn't do it yet. We'd have to wait. Again, the baby's not ready to be born yet.
Right. So this is in a sense, it's a dream about procreation or recreating your own life through the idea of the baby as the idea that was going to lead her to change. Is she close to embarking on that big change for herself?
Yes, she is.
Oh.
Yeah, she is close to it. Now, she's a bit frightened of big changes, too. You know, not everybody jumps out and does stuff, like swashbuckles their way into the new thing. But she desperately wants to change from what she's got. That's the next dream, as a matter of fact, that we'll do next time. Deals with that in more detail.
Oh, so there is a part 2 to this.
Oh, there's a part 2, yeah. It's quite a complicated, long dream.
But it ends up confirming what you have felt with this dream for her.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we'll talk about that one next time, Yvonne.
Yes, well, we will. Thanks, Chris.
Well, thank you for making us pregnant with thought about dreams. I appreciate it.
And that's true. We're all pregnant with something. That's for sure.
And I'm going to go get some ice cream.
I'll get some ideas. Yes.
We'll talk soon, Yvonne. Thank you.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Reimagine That with Chris Mann was brought to you by Retroality TV. Copyright 2012 by Chris Mann. You can find us at retroality.tv and at reimaginethat.libsyn.com. Tweet us at retroalitytv or join us on Facebook at facebook.com/retroalitytv. And don't forget to check out our TV channel at youtube.com/retroalitytv. And if you're contemplating a reimagining of your own reality, remember to take it step by step, day by day. Don't forget, you really can make it better the second time around.